Spring 1549, Wari Province, Nagoya Castle. The army enters the city. A man is preparing for an important meeting. He is being painted, constantly looking at himself in the mirror, doing his hair, namely tying part of his hair in a high ponytail. The owner of the house asked for a belt to tie around his waist, but the man didn't like the one he was given, so he chose an orange thick rope, which he tied around his waist. His friends told the owner how handsome he was and started to freak out when someone came to tell them that the guests had arrived. In honor of the newly arrived guests, they fired gunshots. The man who was good-looking ran to the observation tower to look at the guests. The bride was brought to meet her future husband. Ms. No, the bride, was offered a drink of sake. While she was drinking sake, her future groom, Nobunaga, recalled how his father had spoken to him before the wedding and said that he was sick, that when he died, chaos would break out, the neighbors would go to war with them, so they needed to make peace now, and for this he, the young lord, must marry the daughter of the enemy. The future of the province is in the hands of the young master. The young master also drank sake. After the meal, the groom and his friends went to his room, and his friends discussed his bride, how beautiful she was, and that they hadn't lied about it. In the bride's room, the girl was asked not to forget the words of her father, who said that she needed to get married in order to save her province from war. The man came to the girl's room on the first wedding night. The girl poured in tea, but the man spat it out, couldn't drink it. Then he lay down on the bed and ordered the girl to give him a massage. The girl cleaned the dishes and started to give the man a massage. But the man did not like the massage because it was too soft, so the woman began to massage his shoulders hard, which became very painful for the man. The man could not stand the pain and quickly got up. He sat down opposite the girl, threw his leg forward and pointed to his leg several times. But she didn't like the man's attitude. She asked him directly why he was treating her like that and why she had to give him a massage. The answer was that she was his wife, so she had to do it. But the girl objected because the man was not tired, and she was tired after the trip. And if he was a good husband, he would have done the foot massage for her himself. Real men take care of their women. The man was pissed off and shouted at her to shut up because it was obvious that she had forgotten her place. But the woman replied that he was an uncouth idiot, and she also shamed him for his clothes and the fact that he did not know how to drink. They started to quarrel, talking about marriage, that it was a salvation from a bloody war, but the girl said that marriage was so that her father could then take over this province and become its master. The man took a sword and attacked the woman, but the girl was a martial arts master and beat the man. The servants of both were outside the room. They heard the moans that the man was making, but could not understand what exactly they were. But she tied her husband up and started beating him. The husband called the guards, and they ran into the room and separated the newlyweds. When Mr. Nobunaga returned to the room, his comrade said that this was the girl's third marriage. Her first two husbands had died. The woman was discussing her husband with her men. She said that he was a bastard, and they would easily seize his land. She was ready to kill him immediately after her father's order. Spring 1551, the funeral of Nobuhiro Oda, the boy's father. The Lord Nobunaga came to the funeral. He disrupted the funeral by throwing something loose on the candles. The girl was practicing martial arts when the man arrived. The first question he asked was whether she was preparing to kill. Mr. Nobunaga had brought a hawk, whose kill she was to cook for dinner. But No said that the bird would not be able to get enough food to feed all the residents. The girl said that the hawk was just a toy. For real hunting, she only needed a bow and arrows. The husband and wife decided to see who was the best hunter. They went hunting. Nobunaga's master saw a bird. His servants hit the gong, and he didn't have time to shoot it when he started scolding the men, but No shot the bird in the air and hit it the first time. The girl killed more than one bird, but the man killed none. They saw a deer and chased it. The man saw the deer, aimed at the animal, but his foot slipped and he rolled down the cliff. Buddha heard her husband's screams and ran to him. When he fell, the man caught a rope on a tree branch and hung from the cliff. The woman ran up to him and offered him a helping hand, but he began to refuse, saying that he did not need a woman's help and that he could do it himself. But No insisted that the man think about it, because he could fall to his death if he fell off. He finally agreed, and the girl helped him survive. The man asked her not to tell anyone. Looking at the sea, the girl smiled. She said that where she grew up there was no sea and no ports, that she dreamed of going on a journey by sea and seeing what was happening in other lands. The man was very surprised by the woman's desire. 1556. The construction of Kyoso Castle. When No was inspecting the construction of the castle and telling her trusted people that they needed to know about all its most vulnerable aspects, a girl ran up to her and said that she was pregnant with her husband's child. But she congratulated the girl and wished her an easy birth. A servant ran up to them and said something important. It turned out that her husband had gathered an army and was going to the war to help her father and brother, who were now fighting. The messengers arrived. The girl's father was killed in action. The girl was going to go to war herself, but her husband stopped her. The girl wanted to kill herself, but her husband took the knife away from her in time and said that she should be a wife, ordered her servants to follow her, and went to war. May 18, 1560, the war continued. The enemy was advancing, but the trusted people asked to flee, because 2 ports away were their lands. The enemy army was very large, and there was no one in the province to fight them. But I went to my husband to ask what decision he had made, but he did not know what to do. His soldiers were running away. They did not want to fight. The woman said that she would rather fight with them than run away, and suggested that he think about their weaknesses. Her idea was that he should gather the army and ambush them in the ports. But he didn't want to do that, because they wouldn't have time to get there, and it would be better for them to stay and strengthen the castle's defenses. The woman insisted that they could not stay, as many of the troops had already fled, and he had no one to expect help. For the first time, a man and a woman decided what they should do in this situation. The girl helped her husband a lot. She said that it would be raining, and if they attacked tomorrow, no one would hear them when they were going to the port. The husband needed motivation from their ruler. The wife was writing a speech that her husband had to say to his army to get them to go with him to fight. The words that No said to him gave the people faith that they could stop the enemy. The army could not but support their commander after such words. No ordered not to say that she was with her husband and helped to make this decision. It was to be a secret. The army went to the positions. It was raining heavily. The army returned with victory. Autumn 1567, Mino. Now it was No's land again. They had conquered them. The owner Nobunaga wanted to rename Mino Castle. He suggested that his wife move to Sagi, where she grew up. Now she was no longer obliged to be his wife. They could divorce. Their servants came running in with a message that Mr. Voda wanted to see the master, who wanted to discuss Ashikaga's arrival in Kyoto. Ashikaga was going to become a shogun military leader. It was the glory of victory that brought Ashikaga to him. His servants tried to dissuade the master from meeting him, but No asked that her husband live in Kyoto so that they could conquer those lands as well, and she wanted to fulfill her father's wish. The man agreed. He needed a large army. They set off for Kyoto. No came to her husband. He wanted to show his wife everything that was in the room where they were, but when she lowered the fan, he was surprised. The girl had a makeup that was not usual for him. Her face was completely bleached, as if painted with white paint. Small lips and eyebrows were drawn on the top of her forehead. No explained that her makeup was done in the latest fashion. The man could not stand it and laughed. The girl began to wipe off the makeup and rub the paint all over her face. She was offended by the man and left. The man took No to the city so that his wife could see everything, not from the carriage she had come in, but by walking the streets of the city. The husband bought his wife a souvenir, a statuette in the form of a frog, and then their attention was drawn to Europeans playing musical instruments. The dancing Europeans took No to their side, and she began to dance with them, smiling sincerely, and her husband saw such a smile on her face for the first time. No took the man with her, and then they stayed dancing together. It was the first time they danced like that. The child stole a bag of money from the man. The couple ran after the child and came to a very poor neighborhood. They took the money and went back. When No heard the child crying because he was being beaten, the girl could not stand it and killed the man who was insulting the boy. A fight started. The couple fled the bad neighborhood. For the first time in all the years of their married life, they kissed and became intimate. May 21, 1570. Okedi's army returned with heavy losses. Most of the rulers of the provinces that were allied with them were killed. The commander believed that there was a traitor among them who had to be executed. After the meeting, the Lord Nobunaga ran to No. His wife was sick. She had lost a child. The man said that next time they would succeed and she would give birth to a healthy child. But the girl was angry, as she was not young and had no children yet, and her husband already had more than one child, which other women had given birth to him. The man from Opal said that there was a war going on. He was responsible for thousands of soldiers he led, and every day he lost many in battle. A child meant little in comparison. No's attorney asked him to show compassion for his wife, who really wanted this child, embroidered clothes for him herself, but the commander could not share the pain she was experiencing at that time. 1571. Mount Hiei, Yuji Temple. The commander's army has another battle. At a meeting, the commander ordered to burn everyone, men, women, and children, to kill all the monks for supporting his enemy and betraying him. One of the soldiers said that these were not the words of a decent man, to which Nobunaga replied that he was no longer decent or human, but a demon lord. One of the soldiers volunteered to fulfill the commander's will. Her husband's friends, who had been with him from the beginning, came to see No, and they had a request. No came to her husband with a request not to destroy the Buddhist temple. Burning women and children is already very cruel. Many people will be against such an act of the commander. To which the husband replied that he would kill those who would oppose it, and he passed his wife a glass of wine. No said that even the shogun did not like her husband's actions, to which she received the answer that he did not care. He would then expel the shogun from Kyoto, and if he did not agree to leave, he would kill him, and she could help him. The man realized that his comrades had sent her to talk to him, but the battles in which the woman had helped him were easy, and now very difficult times had begun, and he did not need her advice. On Mount Heian, they gathered all the Buddhists, men, women, and children. They were preparing to kill them. The head monk was praying when he was killed by one of the soldiers. First they set fire to all the holy statues and then to the people. 1574, New Year's Eve. The servants wished the master Nobunaga to unite all of Japan, and they would help him in this. Everyone was having fun and celebrating. The drink was brought in gilded bowls made from the skulls of his enemies. The man drank sake from one of the bowls. The owner, Nobunaga, said it was the best steak he had ever had. Everyone continued to have fun. The wife took the drunken husband to his room. The man wanted to kiss no but was slapped. The woman asked him how much longer he would live like this. Her assistant and her husband went to the mountain and found a persimmon tree. The husband ate a lot and felt sick. The woman wanted to say that the couple should always be together and live a life without war. A quarrel broke out between them, and the commander told his wife that it was she who told him to go to Kyoto. And now he can't stop until peace comes to Japan, or he won't be able to sleep well at night, because he will die from the enemy's weapons, or the enemy will be killed by him. The woman left her husband alone. But she complained to her assistant that she doesn't understand how it happened that she married him to kill him later, like her other husbands, but after her father's death, she fulfilled all her and her father's dreams with the help of her husband. Now her husband is almost at the top, but No doesn't understand what is wrong, why she is afraid. The assistant tried to explain that she has fallen in love with her husband and her ambitions are not as important as her lover's suffering. No thinks her husband hates her and she wants to leave. The owner called No's assistant. No and her husband were listening to foreign artists, and No said that she finally understood why she wanted to go overseas. She was looking for a different life, one where no one knew her, no one knew whose daughter she was. A different life. But she asked her husband for a divorce. She was ready to go. He agreed to the divorce and gave her permission to go. Nobunaga's husband ran to watch No leave his house so as not to scream in pain that his wife was leaving. He clenched his teeth with a knife. He could not meet his wife's gaze in farewell, but she left her husband's house. Novishino Sanangahara, 1575. Nobunaga's army was marching through the area where the ground was littered with dead soldiers. But it was bad. She kept looking at the frog that her husband bought her after they arrived in Kyoto. After his wife left, Mr. Nobunaga was also not feeling well. He was in a bad mood, and at a sumo competition, he saw No with the makeup she had worn the first day she came to Kyoto. The owner fainted. The man had a dream that he was walking into a river where a woman in white had entered before him, and he asked the woman why she had died. The woman turned to his voice, and he saw a young girl with a baby in her arms. The baby cried. The girl went on. And the man screamed no, and wanted to follow them, but he could not move. Instead, he shouted for her to take him away. Looking at the water, the warrior saw the ground covered with skeletons, and a woman with a child was almost up to her neck in the river. She did not respond to his pleas to come back. The woman drowned. Nobunaga woke up. He immediately attacked the young man who was next to him. The man told the boy why he needed all this. He had killed all his enemies, built a beautiful castle. The emperor respects him. But why does he need it? In response to his question, he heard that he did it all for the unification of Japan. The master immediately went to his wife. No was very ill. No's assistant said that she had loved her husband all along. The husband asked his wife to return to him. He could cure her. No refused. She did not want to see him and drove him away. The assistant went to No and began to persuade the woman to look at the guest. He had come to her to ask her to help him because he was the one who was exhausted and needed her. The Lord Nobunaga knelt down and asked No to go with him. No returned to the castle. The man carried his wife on his back, showing her the castle he had built. No said that everything he had built was pretentious, like a child building a castle. But she came back to life. The man said that he had planted a garden with medicinal herbs. Now he can make infusions and treat his wife with them. The tea that the owner brewed was so disgusting in smell and taste that he could not drink it himself. But she asked her husband to return to business, not to be with him all the time, but he did not agree. His sons, who gave birth to him by other women, did a good job. 1582. The owner of the castle became not the same as before. Everyone began to behave disrespectfully at the meeting, even called him names. An important guest visited the castle and the inhabitants. In front of the guest, Nobunaga beat up and kicked out the man who had cooked the spoiled fish. While beating the man, tears appeared on the castle owner's face. The guest was shocked by what he saw, approached the man who had cooked the fish and said that he liked the dish, it was very tasty. The owner apologized to the guy he had beaten in front of the guest, even though it was a performance to remind people that he was angry and ruthless. They had a good show, but she was lying in bed when a man came to her and brought a kabza with him. He asked if she remembered listening to foreigners playing this instrument when they were in Kyoto, and he started playing it himself. The man was about to go to Kyoto. There was an invasion of the lands of his fellow countrymen. If this battle ended with the victory of their army, the whole war would end. The man invited No to go with him. After his return, he promised to go together somewhere far away where they were not known. He had one task for his wife. She had to learn to play the kabza he had brought. No gave her husband the frog he had bought her in Kyoto. It became a talisman that helped. But to return to her husband, now this thing should help the master to return from the battle alive to his wife. The owner went to Kyoto. Hojoji Temple on June 2, 1582. The Nobunaga lord woke up to a young man screaming that they were being attacked by the Okedi army. The army was led by Nobunaga's former ward. He had raised a traitor himself. Nobunaga left the room, and the army was already entering the castle. The master gave the command to set fire to it. There was a fierce battle. The forces were not equal. Everything was burning. Nobunaga had no place to run. The house he had built was burning, and the enemies were attacking him. He was left alone. Everyone who came with him was either dead or wounded and still trying to fight. But with the last of his strength, he picked up a kabza. Alone in the last room from which there was no way out, Mr. Nobunaga thought it was time to kill himself, but he took out a frog from his kimono that his wife had given him, but played a melody on the kabza. Looking at the talisman, Nobunaga saw a secret passage in the floor. The man got out of the burning castle, got on his horse, and returned to his wife. The couple immediately went to the port, got on a ship, and went out to sea. They had fun, sang and danced, experienced a strong storm, and still survived. Standing on the bow of the ship, they saw the land. No became pregnant. Now a new life awaited them in another country where no one knew them. But these were only dreams. No died in her room with a kabza in her hands, fulfilling her husband's last wish, and the owner Nobunaga confessed that he had always loved No. After the confession, the man killed himself.